Hello, sports fans. This is Steven here for JustMyPicks.com. I'm going to bring you a special 2013-2014 NFL breakdown of the season-ending MVP award picks. I've got everything from NFL MVP to offensive MVP, defensive MVP, rookies of the year. We're going to get right into it. Starting off at number one, the golden thing that everybody wants to see for these rookies. Who was a good rookie? Looking at the defensive side of the ball first, it's really only 2 to 3 candidates. I had two. The first candidate I have is Sheldon Richardson of the New York Jets. Let's face it, the guy was a monster in the middle for the New York Jets. He played some defensive end, he played some defensive tackle. Whenever he was in the game, he was very disruptive, producing a lot. When you look at what a rookie does, especially defensive tackle, they're not asked to do much but clog holes. He not only clogged holes against AFC and NFC opponents, he got to the quarterback. With looking at some of his numbers, 36 solo tackles for a defensive tackle was pretty good. Looking at just a couple of sacks with 3.5, it wasn't really that impressive from the sack number, but looking at the 12 tackles for loss, that shows me he was getting penetration constantly through football games, constantly having a high motor, constantly making some group tackles and getting out after the ball. But when you look at the strong point of the Jets, it was defense, and he was one of the reasons why that they continued to stay in football games late. Even when the offense was not scoring points, the defense was the backbone for the Jets all season long, and he played. I think he deserved to make the Pro Bowl, but when it comes down to it, I think he's number 2 on this list. For the number 1 guy on this list, looking at Kiko Alonso, some of the things that he did for the Buffalo Bills, he stood out on tape just a little bit more than Sheldon did. He came out and he stood out. When I look at all 100+ tackles as a rookie, when I look at some of the interceptions he had, which was 4 of them, you're looking at some of the displacements he did where he jarred the ball loose from offensive players, whether it be running backs, whether it be wide receivers, whether it be tight ends. He struck fear inside of them. So when I saw him stand out on tape, it just showed me why the Buffalo Bills defense is improving. Now, if only that Buffalo Bills offense can improve. It's very horrible in Buffalo as far as their offense goes because they're not consistent, and you didn't really get to see him a lot. In Oregon, he made a lot of good plays for the Oregon Ducks, and he stood out just like that on paper. Now he's standing out for the Buffalo Bills. He is my pick to win the Defensive Rookie of the Year for the rookies. And now I'm going to offense. When I look at offense, a lot of good things happened on the offensive side of the ball for a lot of rookies. You're looking at a lot of people looking at Pittsburgh with their rookie running back. But no, I'm looking in Green Bay at Eddie Lacy being my number 2 pick right now for the offensive MVP for rookies. Eddie Lacy, let's flat out face it, even though he was hurt in a couple games, he held the fort down for the Green Bay Packers. You're looking at consistently help rush for 100 yards per game. He came back and was a battering ram. Even though he had a concussion here or there, he was still scoring touchdowns. He was still jumping over those piles, helping them get those extra yards and fighting for every single thing when it came down to it. Eddie Lacy, salute to you, hats off. Right now, as is, he's the best running back to come out from the University of Alabama since Trent Richardson, since Mark Ingram. So he's right now the bell cow. He's looking like the best prospect that they've had, and he's just doing so many good things for the Packers. Even though Aaron Rodgers isn't in right now, you're looking at Lacy and what he did to protect Aaron Rodgers, and he did a pretty darn good job. You're looking at a lot of things he did, but there was one player in the NFL that played slightly better than him, and that one player is Giovanni Bernard of the Cincinnati Bengals. When I look at the resurgence of the Bengals and them consistently making the playoffs, this year was hell-bent on the running back position. Yes, they threw the ball to A.J. Green. Yes, they got the ball out to different receivers and tight ends, Gresham and things like that. But you're looking at the run game. With Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis not really being effective at the running back position, they had to go in another route. They had to get a different direction. They got a rookie running back in Giovanni Bernard, and he's done the job. Whether it's screen plays, whether it's passing patterns, whether it's running the ball flat out, east and west or north and south, he does the things that he needs to do. The only thing he needs to improve on is his blocking to keep Andy Dalton safe. But at the end of the day, his numbers speak for itself. He was a great guy in fantasy for a lot of people that had him in fantasy league, and he stayed a little bit more healthier than Eddie Lacy did. That's why I think he edges him out in this degree. Plus, you look at the Bengals are already in the playoffs. They already have solidified their spot. The Green Bay Packers are playing into the playoff spot. So I feel like he's done enough thus far before Sunday's game to even show that love to him and give him that award from JustMyPicks.com. So That's my two picks for the offensive rookie of the year and the defensive rookie of the year. Now I'm going to go ahead and get to the big boys right now. I'm going to start on defense with this, because defense, you had a lot of people that stood out on the defensive side of the ball, whether it was a 49ers defensive player with those elite guys, whether it was the people that held the fort down at times for the Detroit Lions, like an Ndamukong Suh. You're looking at any group of guys could have gotten this award because it was so stretched out. But when I look down and I look at the basic stats, when I look at paper, when I look at what the actual stats say, Luke Kuechly stood out. So I took a closer look at the coach's film for Luke Kuechly, everywhere, all across the board. Just looking at his last few games, the biggest game of the season for the Carolina Panthers, which was against the New Orleans Saints at home, he was all over the field. I mean, monsoon conditions where you couldn't see in front of you because it was that much rain. Luke Kuechly stayed in the whole entire game almost. He was sideline to sideline and didn't stop a beat. The young man is everywhere. He seems to be everywhere the ball is, and that is just great preparation on his part. He studies offenses like clockwork. He knows where to be where some of the elite athletes are on the field, and he just has a nose for the football. Drew Brees, every time he threw a screen pass, you saw Kuechly flying to the football. If not getting there before the ball got there, he was there. So looking at Luke Kuechly, he's a hands down defensive MVP for the NFL. His motor is running high. A lot of times he is having 15, 16 game tackles, and he is doing this and standing out. You see him blowing up piles for loss when he hits running backs. He's driving quarterbacks into the ground when he gets to them, and he's improving as a linebacker in coverage. I know that a lot of people say that he had that big pass interference call against the New England Patriots, but if they didn't call it, it's not a call. So Luke Kuechly is one of the young studs in the NFL. The Carolina Panthers truly have a gem in Kuechly, and I think that he's going to be a standout player for the next decade. Looking at a cornerstone for the Carolina Panthers. They know how to pick these linebackers out of Carolina. So now heading to the offensive MVP. It's no secret. It's no guess. I know I'm going to name the other guys that could have potentially won this award, but it's all over. You know, Russell Wilson did a great job leading the Seattle Seahawks to a very impressive record, trying to lock down that #1 seed. Tom Brady, what can you say? When his team fell around him, he stood tall, led them to an amazing season, and got them into the playoffs as well for another year. You know, he does his thing year in, year out. It's no coincidence there. But when you look at Peyton Manning, when you look at what he's done, 51 touchdowns so far with one more game to go. He could possibly break Drew Brees' single season record with yards. You're looking at all the things that he's done successfully. And just think, 2 years ago, people talked about he probably would never throw a football again. You're looking at the things he did last year, and if it wasn't for Adrian Peterson, he would have had another NFL MVP title. You know, so looking at this, and he has the Broncos in a pole position to make that #1 spot, you're looking at what he does well. You know, and some of the things that I see from him, he just completely stands out. And he leads that football team. If it wasn't for Peyton Manning, the Denver Broncos would not be in the #1 seed at all. They would probably not be in the playoff hunt at all. You know, just being honest with you, I don't know that they would still have Tim Tebow, but what other good quarterback would you plug into that system and really have this same success? You can't tell me too many others, unless you're talking about a Drew Brees or a Tom Brady, but they're not going nowhere on their teams. Peyton Manning did the job, and he did the job very effectively, and he got the job done when he needed to. Some other honorable mentions. Jamal Charles of the Kansas City Chiefs, who had a magnificent season. I'm telling you, he scored, ran his butt off, was one of the best fantasy guys in fantasy football all season long. Also, the best running back in football, LaShawn McCoy of the Philadelphia Eagles. He runs well, catches the ball well. They did have fantastic seasons, but not to the level that Peyton Manning did. They didn't get 51 TDs on a season. Even for a quarterback, that's very impressive, because you don't see that feat a lot of times, and he's thrown the ball for 5,000 plus yards in a single season. So you're looking at so many things. This has been my wrap up for the NFL award segment. It's been a great year of football. I'm looking forward to the regular season, last game of the season, plus I'm looking forward to the NFL playoffs. We're going to bring you the top coverage. Stay tuned. Also, check us out at justmypicks.com. Let us know how you felt about my list. Comment on it below. Do you feel like some other guys should have won it? Do you feel like some other nominees should have been in the categories? Let me know what you guys think coming up on the comment section. Also, subscribe. Share our videos in your sports group so you can see more of our content each and every week. Let us know what you want to hear in the comment section below, and check us out. Thank you very much for viewing us, and share us in your sports group. Thank you.